So che Baccio Bandinelli. I was reading notes by from his life, right? And so we can block and look at blocking the rib cage. See that here like this as a general volume. Just trying to mimic the same shape here. We need a starting point, right? And then we're going to refine it later, right? So then we have the hips here, the hips from the line here of the fold created by the end of the rib cage as it gets close to the hips, right? And I'm gonna go down to the gluteus, measure that, and then see that, okay, that is slightly shorter, so this much, about this much, that's where the gluteus ends. So now we go in, see that in like this, right? So basically what I did, I created a volume, right? And I started to, the rib cage, I started to relate the other measurement attached to it to the size of this volume here, right? So it down straight here. So this comes in, see that curve in. This goes down straight like this, right? And then here goes out, very short. So this leg here is about at the lower, not half, right? A little bit lower than half here of the space occupied by the hips. So this is the leg. Comes down like this. See how long the leg is. The both sides of the leg taper, right? See what I'm doing with the stereometric, right? We're going with the stereometric. So now I want to measure the length of the thigh from, let's say, here to maybe here, right? We'll see if this measurement works, right? I mean, if it's comparable to, all right, wow, so, right, see that, it get to the jugular fossa, so, but we need to block in an idea of the jugular fossa about here, right? So now I take, it's a little bit lower, so I take the measurement from the leg to the jugular fossa, and I block in now the knee, which is about here, right? A little bit shorter than that. And then, actually it's here, that point in there, I measure this point in here, so that's the knee. And now we want to block in the length of the lower leg. Let's see, the lower leg from here, right, to the foot. Take the measurement, compare it with another measurement, right? Oh, look, it's the same as the thigh, all right. See that? This is the same as this. And this gets to here, right, to the jugular fossa. So this gives me this. Oh, it's a little bit higher here, right? And then the same measurement is where the foot is. Okay, so now I have the length of the leg, the length of the torso, and I want to see where is the inside of the heel, for example. It cuts at the 1, 2, 3, more or less the lateral third of the rib cage. So here, that's the foot, is about here. So now this leg goes out. The foot is here, right? The foot goes out like that, out, down, at an angle. More or less, right? More or less. Actually, this needs to come in a little bit more angle, right? Because this is here. So this is here. So, right, right. So I need to move that a little bit here, right? So we block in more or less the angle of the leg, and always keep an eye for changes, modification. For example, if I'm looking now at my hips, this one, it looks a little bit too straight compared to that.
Yes.
So I mean, to angle compared to that. So I need to bring this out a little bit here. And the rib cage here goes out a little bit more here, right? And this is now here. So, so jugular fossa, we're saying more or less it's here. I'm blocking now the sternum. See the sternum here that occupies.
Oh yes.
Right, 1, 2, not the third, not it's not at the lateral, a little bit more than that. So 1, 2, a little bit more than that. Okay, that's about here, right? Come down at an angle, right?
Well, could you repeat that 1, 2, please?
See this portion here is a measurement right so here, right? So I want to see if this looks like, it doesn't look like a third of the total thing, but
right.
More or less. So what I do, I take this measurement and I see 1, 2, right? And then a little bit outside. So I want to have the same ratio, right? So it's 1, 2. Actually, it could be a little bit more here, right? So it's an approximation, right? But 1, 2, and then a little bit more outside. Okay. So that looks okay. So this part of the hips of the external oblique comes out like that. The genitals are now here, right, at the root of the leg. The gluteus comes out here, this leg here. So now we need to block in this leg. How long is that, right? So I will start from this point here. See that? The point where the leg stems. See that?
Okay.
And then let's take this measurement.
Wow. Okay.
And then let's see. And that's got, it's a little bit longer than the leg. It's from the genitals to here, right? Okay. So from the genitals to here, a little bit longer than that. So here, oh, that leg goes out quite a lot, right?
So you're going from.
So I'm finding the measurement is similar. So I'm really comparing it to whatever is similar, right? So I'm taking the measurement from here to here, right?
Right.
And then once I have this measurement, I see what it corresponds to of the measurement I already have. So I have the pubic bone and about the top of the rib cage here. So from the pubic bone, it gets to the jugular fossa. Oh, so here, jugular fossa. Okay, so now from the pubic bone to the jugular fossa, then I have the leg. It's a little bit shorter than I put, so here. So I know where the leg ends, right?
Yes, it's big leg.
Big leg, right? Long leg, right? So, so that from here, right, which is, so the navel is just below this fold of the rib cage, that here. It's just here to the right of the linea alba, so sternum, linea alba, and then linea alba goes here like this and goes straight. So this is close to the navel, then to the pubic bone, so it's about here. So that the leg starts from here, goes out, and then about halfway there, it turns, maybe less than halfway, turn downward like that. And the top of this knee, what is it? Is at the level of the genitals here, or pubic bone. See that?
Yeah.
Makes sense, right? So now, this lower leg can go down straight. How much? We can eyeball that, right? About here, the level of the calves here, and then at the level of the gluteus, more or less. See that we have now the base, the bottom part of the thigh, right? Goes out like that, and then we have the calves, the lower leg here, the heel, and the foot. So now that's a lot of negative space, right? So maybe I need to kind of, this is much bigger negative space than I have there. So maybe there is something wrong in this measurement, which could be, it could be here.
I think it's the length of your thigh, no?
The length of the thigh, yeah. So
Wait, Can we measure that again? Because I came up with it a little bit shorter than you.
Oh, sorry, it's here. Okay, so here, but still, so I'm gonna make it now shorter here. But still, it looks too long. So what I did is this, measuring this
Okay.
and comparing it with this measurement here, right, from the pubic bone to the jugular fossa. So that's the jugular fossa. So from the pubic bone to the jugular fossa is the same measurement. Oh no, it's here, sorry, here. So I keep messing that measurement. All right, so that's good though. Now I'm going to, but now this point in here where the thigh ends is on the same level as the pubic bone here, more or less, right? See that?
Yes, for the knee.
More or less, right? So there. So now all of this comes in a little bit and move the leg in here. So this goes down straight. Out, in, down. So you're in the Carolinas now, Carol?
What?
You're traveling now?
We just got back from the Outer Banks.
Oh.
We headed for Nor'easter for a week. And then next Thursday I go to the Southwest.
Oh, okay. Because yesterday we had a tornado warning or something like that, a hurricane warning. Yesterday was raining. We didn't get it. Okay, now that space looks better, right? The negative space looks better, right? For at least for my drawing, right?
Do we measure the space?
Yeah, let's measure the space. So let's see. I go from
the ankle to the knee.
from here to here, right? Something, or from here to here. I could measure this, right, more or less, and then measure also from the foot to the calf, right? This is, what is it? Is the same as from the this line here at the end of the rib cage and the top of the figure. So from here to here should be that space there. All right, look at that. Perfect. It's good. It's good. It's good. So that is good for me, right? This one here instead, let's see, right? This one is, okay, from the pubic bone to a little bit higher than, from pubic bone to here, pubic bone to here. All right, pretty good.
Right.
Pretty good, right? So pretty good. So get in there, right? Get in there. Okay, so that's the top of the figure. So now we can block in. Look, there's a continuity between
Oh, nice.
the sternum and the sternocleidomastoid. See that? We can use that.
Yeah.
So now in front of that, we're gonna have the face. The jawline is just in line with the top of the rib cage here, and the face is slightly shorter than the width of the rib cage. So here. And then we have the measurement of the head and the back, which can eyeball. Top of the head we can eyeball. And then from here we have the trapezius here, right? And then developing that way, we have here, let's see, the top of the deltoid is at the level of the eyes, which we can eyeball to here. So that's the deltoid here. So this goes higher.
Wow. So his face.
It's higher, right? It's high, right? So this probably goes a little bit lower, right? Meaning that the head is down, the arm is up, right? So the deltoid, see, that is not that's below the eyes, right? Just below the eyes. So
Yeah, I have it like on the nose.
yeah, mine is too low too. So probably because this part in here needs to be lifted. There you go. The trapezius needs to be lifted. The deltoid needs to be lifted, because see that also the trapezius is at the level of the eye right here, right? So the eye would be just here. That's the face. And that would be nose. And the ear, it's just there, right? So the arm on the other side is here. We can block it this as a circle, right? As a sphere for the joint. And blocking now the measurement of the upper arm here. The wrist is below the level of the genitals here, right? Here at the level of the end of the thigh, with the sitting place here. So forearm now, we can block in the forearm as a, I see, this goes in a little bit more here. The forearm at first as a normal volume above here, and then the 2x4 at the end. See that?
Okay, I'm catching up here.
Okay, I'm gonna wait there now.
Okay, I have to circle back to the face a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Let me see Ramona.
I started with my left arm too low. It's amazing how big that is.
Yeah, right. It's interesting to see how the perception of things.
Right.
Right. What the measuring, what really makes it evident, right? What makes it visible, to see how one thing is how we perceive it, and one thing is what it is, right?
Right. Okay.
So now I want to block in this other arm, right? So this goes out. It goes down from here, right? From the level of this below the eye. So the eye maybe kind of blocking the eye here. Below the eye here, it goes slightly down diagonally as a cylinder without looking at the bump, right? We know it's at the point, and this gets down to about here, right? So that's the upper arm, right? And how long is it, right? So let's see. We could measure. So estimate the space between the rib cage here, right?
Okay.
And the deltoid. And the deltoid and the jugular fossa, they look the same to me. Yeah, they are the same. So this beginning of the arm here, the deltoid here, is halfway between the jugular fossa and the outside of the rib cage. So it's about here. So that's the deltoid. In fact, you see how small the trapezius, the bump of the trapezius is right here. So that's the beginning of the arm here, well inside the volume of the rib cage. See that?
Yeah.
And then we can take this measurement here. Now we know where the beginning is of the arm. Take this measurement here.
Okay.
And then compare it with something else that we have, right? And it's the same as the space between here and here, right? So the end of the rib cage and the top of the arm. So here, that's the arm, right? Now, we want to see how low it goes. If that is the jugular fossa, right? Estimate the jugular fossa to be here, about here, right? That is a little bit below the jugular fossa, so here. Now, so this is the length of the arm at the elbow. So the forearm is going to be attached here, right? Overlapping with that, right? And the wrist is at the level of the top of the head here. coming out at an angle just barely off. See, that's very thin triangle here, right? Very thin triangle here.
Right.
Wrist,
Put my arm in here.
hand is slightly above the head, and the finger is cut in the middle of the deltoid, so that's the finger which is out there. So I was reading about Baccio Bandinelli. Apparently, he cut to pieces Michelangelo's cartoon of the Battle of Anghiari, the Montaperti, because who knows why, right? He went to copy it. He copied it a lot, but I guess he was jealous of Michelangelo. He basically destroyed it or cut it
That's
to
terrible.
cut it to pieces, and it was never found again. He probably smuggled it. He kept it, right, to study it, and he didn't want anybody to see it, right? So because students were, so when the Medici were doing these things, right, they were, or in general the regent of the cities, when artists were, when the regent of the city were commissioning artists to do something, those work then would become teaching tools, and the Medici or who pair them would grant access to our student or to the people so they could go copy, work on it, learn from it. So Baccio Bandinelli, he was able to sneak into the place where this cartoon of Michelangelo was and stole it
Wow.
and cut it to pieces. Probably because it was big, but also I don't know why he did it, but he clearly never had some sort of inferiority complex or some sort of rivalry with Michelangelo.
It's tough to be a rival of Michelangelo.
Right?
Yeah.
pick a smaller guy, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Although Michelangelo, it was kind of a character himself, right? In the sense that he got into a fist fight when he was young, and got his nose smashed, broken and punched in. Yeah. When he was 16, he was at the school of the Medici, kind of learning the art, and there was another artist there that apparently Michelangelo was always ridiculing or making fun of him, etc. Eventually, this guy punched him in the face and broke his nose, and that Michelangelo broken nose became his trademark, right?
Well, there was some theory that he was bipolar.
A lot of artists are, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so I think we blocked in the general figure, right? How's it coming?
Right. I'm good. I'm still working on the face a little bit.
All right, so
Yeah,
we can wait. We're not in a hurry.
Okay.
We're not in a hurry.
I'm good. I'm pretty much with you.
So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to so I find that this spit pastel in pencil is a good substitute of the sticks in Conti Crayon and Cretacolor because they are too soft. It's also a good alternative to the generals, right? This is also very good, hard, but it's I think it's a little bit lighter in color than this, right? So I'm gonna clean it up a little bit
Okay.
with the kneaded eraser, and then we're gonna create the better drawing. Then started blocking light mass and shadow mass. If you look carefully, you're going to see that in some area the value is relatively flat, right? Like here in the shadow massing here. But in some area here in the thigh, you see the lines here like this that
yeah.
you would see here. The same line that you would see here. See those lines, right?
Yeah.
And you see them also in Raphael. See that? the lines that Raphael has, right?
Oh yeah, on the legs.
Yeah, in the legs, right? In the legs and the arms here. See that? I don't know how good the resolution of the camera is, but yeah. You have the copy. You should be able to see it. But
Yep. 1 second, 1 second.
yeah, yeah.
Still trying to. I took a lot of my painting stuff to the beach.
Now you have to
We did
unpack.
paint one day, but so I'm trying to put everything back together. All
So
right.
I'm cleaning this up, right? I'm cleaning this up a little bit. So if you think about this, all these works have been created, these and after these, right, with the same, essentially the same materials of cave paintings. Whether we're using red ochres and charcoal and yellow ochres, sometimes ground and mixed with animal fat to make them stick to the wall, but also just scratched on the wall, right? So quite interesting.
Imagine if they were alive today and saw what we had available.
Man.
They would have fun.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to now we go over the outline of the figure and we make it more precise, right?
Okay.
So see this line here, how nice it is right here. I'll try to clean it up a little bit more. So yeah, there are quite a lot of excellent draftsmen from this period.
Excellent. What? I'm sorry.
Draftsmen, drawing
Yeah.
people, right?
Okay. I had to sharpen my pencil. Sorry.
Yeah, you gotta keep it sharp because if not, the line will be dull, right? So this leg come in a little bit more. Let's see where I want to see where this the end of the thigh is here, and it's kind of here at the deltoid, right here. Oh, it looks good. That's pretty much what it supposed to be. So this goes changes angle here. So changes angle about there. See that? 1, 2, right? Instead of doing a curve, a continuous curve, do a 1, 2 kind of thing. So let me enlarge the image. So there you go. So about down here, 1 and 2.
Right.
And then we have the side of the knee. That's where the tendon of the bicep connects with the head of the fibula. Then we have now this same thing, 1 and 2, almost vertical. See that? So 1 shorter and 2 almost vertical, but it kind of moves in a little bit, right? So now the other side of the box of the knee here is not completely parallel to that. It's slightly more at an angle as it should be, right?
Right.
So we're blocking it slightly at a slight angle. And then this goes down almost straight, right? So long, medium, short. That's long, short, medium. See that? 1, 2, 3. So 1 almost straight, but not quite. 2 short, and 3. Stop higher than, a little bit higher than the foot because we need to put in the malleolus in the middle, right? Yep. And malleolus here, sorry.
Go ahead, what's it? There we go. Mm-hmm.
And then this is lower, right? And that's the foot. And the heel. And the foot. Okay, so we block in the lower leg. Now we finish the thigh. You need a minute? I stop, right?
No, I'm good.
You're good? Okay. So this one here now is the leg, right? So the navel is here, that's fine. The iliac spine is here, and we can eyeball it, right? And that's the inguinal ligament here. See that here, right?
Wow, okay.
Inguinal ligament here. Genitals. So now, volume of the adductors, right? The volume of the, actually, let's block in the profile of this, the outline of this, comes in slightly inward, like this, from here, slightly inward like that, right? Then we want to subdivide this line here in 2 segments. One is for the adductors here. And the other one is for the vastus medialis, and then the knee below the level of the switch just from thigh to lower leg here. That's the vastus medialis right here. And then the knee. That is again the division at the level of the sartorius between quadricep and adductors here. We can block it in like this. Look around. Just a thin line like this. It goes across so that we don't create a sharp line, right? A sharp line, but it's an area of change. It's a different plane, basically.
Okay.
Now we have here. Maybe my rib cage is a little bit too big. I leave it like that. I just don't worry about this too much, at this point, right? Because I'm looking at the space, see that between here and here, right? That is much smaller. So probably it could be that I could lift this a little bit, but it's not going to make a major difference, right? How big is, let me see, from the bottom of the pectorali, which is here, to the chin, right? How big is it? Is the same as from the pubic bone to the bottom of the pectoralis. So here to here. Yeah, it's no, I leave it like that. So this should be lower. The pectoral should
let's
be
see, it's the bottom of the pectoralis.
So I measure this, see that? I measure from the bottom of the pectoralis to, in this case, the chin, because it's very visible. And then I want to see it compares to what? It compares to the space between the top of the genitals to the bottom of the pectoralis.
Okay.
So see if I have it now from. Now I move the pectoralis down because it looked too short. From the pubic bone to the pectoralis should arrive to the chin. All right, it's okay. It's okay. It's not the major. It's not the major difference, right?
And the pectoralis, are they in the same plane?
So the pectoralis is not the nipple, right? It's here. See this area here?
Yeah.
That from here to here.
Yes.
Is the same as from here to here.
To here, right. I got that. Okay.
So here, this, right? And bicep quite big. So now we can see also the negative space.
Oh, good idea.
Right, the negative space here is similar. If I kind of change this a little bit, make this a little bit more pronounced. So the external oblique more pronounced here and here, right? And now I have the bicep coming down like this. Oh, look, this bicep here is the level of the navel.
Navel.
It's quite low.
No, that's okay.
Forearm. We're looking at the oval portion. See this ovoid form
Yes.
is bigger than the lower space. So this is an ovoid form, and this is a 2x4. So this occupies about, so the top gets to the level of the navel too here, about 2/3 of the top of the forearm, and that over portion with the wrist is just below the genitals. See that, a little bit lower than the genitals here. That's the wrist, and the hand eventually gets down to here. So this is kind of smaller, right? So so now the deltoid goes out. So I'm looking at the armpit, right? The armpit is at the level of behind the chin, which is good. So the chin is behind the chin, so the chin would be here. And then I have this volume of the deltoid, the top of the deltoid being just below the level of the chin here, right? So that's the chin, just below the level of the chin. And then that's, I'm blocking in this circle here. See a circle here, a sphere.
Right.
And you see how the armpit is not halfway, but cut into that sphere about halfway. See that here? And then we have the bump of the deltoid below the sphere here, and the bump of the tricep here, and the bump of the lower portion of the tricep will become tendinous eventually. And so the jugular fossa is here, right? So a little bit lower than the top of the head of the humerus here. That's it, right?
Right. A little bit lower than.
See that here, if you line it up,
Yeah, okay.
right?
Struggling with that arm, but I think I've got it.
Yeah, the arm is tricky. I'm gonna wait now. We're gonna wait.
Because it comes out straight, sort of from under his chin, and then it turns.
Look at my arm in here. Well, it's really not exactly the same curve, but that's fine. I will. Oh, okay. It's okay like that. I could move it. It's okay. Pretty good. Good enough, right?
Okay.
So, the nipple is a little bit higher than the base of the bottom. See the change here between the latissimus and the rib cage here is here, right? The nipple.
Oh, okay.
And then we have this fold of the pecs. Maybe this bump a little bit more pronounced, right? Here like that. And so the sternum and the clavicle from here to here, see that, the clavicle, the other clavicle goes from here to here, see that, the deltoid.
Yeah.
So now I have blocked in a space, this space in here, right? Let me see. This space in here should be similar to that. It's kind of sort of, right? Kind of sort of looks like it. So
Wait, could you say
See-
that again?
see this, I block in this clavicle here and this clavicle
Right.
here, right? And then now this give me the lower margin of this shape here.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That, or here, yeah, here, right? See that? So now, if I have the same, see this sternocleidomastoid in continuation with the sternum right here, then I have this kind of shape here like this, right? All right, it looks similar, so
Okay.
the forehead, what is the forehead? So maybe the head should be a little bit more tilted forward. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
The head was not tilted enough, right?
I agree. And neither is mine.
Here, right? So the nose now, brow ridge here, eyes here, the nose coming out like that, and the mouth like that. All right. So now we need block in the hand, get it out of the way, and we have, see, if you look at this, right, you're blocking the whole block of the hand like that, right? Then you see how the fingers occupy more or less the lower third of this block of the hand. So we draw a line like that, and then we know that now within this spacing here, we need to block in the 4 fingers. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the thumb is here. So I would just leave it like that, and of course there is some cloth, some drapery here. So let's get into this leg because we're here, right? So we might as well tackle the leg, right?
Okay.
All right, so this goes up slightly above the diagonal, see that? The horizontal, see that?
Okay.
And then there's a hump and turns. That would be the rectus femoris, right? And then here now we have the bump of the knee. So it's a little bit of a flattening here. And this plane here, toward the end, it comes in, right?
Right.
In, and then we have the volume of the tibialis here, and then the tapering of the lower leg. So this comes out a little bit, goes in, and goes out again. So this is now the tendon of the bicep, that volume of the adductor all squeezed, and adductor and hamstring all squeezed. Then we have here the peak of the calves. So look, well, this is like medium, short, long, right? So we've got this peak here, medium, short, long, right? And notice all these 3 curves in here, they compare, relate to each other in terms of length, meaning one is longer, one is shorter, one is, but they also, these lines are also slightly concave. See that? 1 here, 2, and 3. That is concave too. Sorry, convex. They're not concave. See that? So all slightly convex, right? And then we have now the heel. I really don't know why Ramon is not in, I guess.
people had to work at the polls.
Because he is 2 hours behind, so
Oh, okay.
all right. I'm gonna call her later. So now we block in the other arm, right? So it's little space. So that deltoid, right? Deltoid here, up, flat, down, right? And so there's a volume here and a volume here. They kind of come together right here. So this is the volume of the delta where it ends. This is the pectoralis, right? The pectoralis here has a change here. 1 and 2. See that? 1, 2. 1 and 2. And this is the volume of the subscapularis, the scapula, right? Teres, subscapularis, etc. This is now the rib cage. That's the linea alba. And that is the external oblique, right? So now, go back to the arm, and we see how there is a peak here.
I have to get that.
I'm sorry, yeah. So see what I did is this volume here is the volume of the scapula with the teres major and the subscapularis, and probably also visible the latissimus, right, somewhere there. That is the serratus, see that here? The volume of the serratus, which you see a little bit of vegetation here, see that? Just barely visible, right? So here. And then we see this is the rib cage, right? And down here, and the external oblique over the rib cage, but the volume is created by the rib cage here. And this is now the external oblique. That's the costal arch, more or less. See that here? And here is the iliac crest. Iliac crest with the iliac spine. And the gluteus medius. Here, this volume here that you see, this line here, is the tensor fascia lata. It's incredible, right? These drawings are so anatomically correct. It's just like reading a book, right? An anatomy book, that is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So now, when I finish the arm, right? We are procrastinating with the arm. So, look at this change of angle here. 1, 2.
Okay, yeah, that's I'm missing one. Still missing one. Still missing one.
So maybe I made the arm a little bit too long. Let's see. Yeah, I made it a little bit too long. I'm gonna shorten it, you know, because it looks like this spacing here is too long, right? See that? The negative space.
Yes.
But also look at the space of how much of the bicep we see. That's very tiny, see that?
Yes.
And here I have a lot of it, so I just simply move this in here, move this in here. Just move the whole arm, because I think the angle is good. It's simply the width, it's too much, so I'm gonna reduce that size.
Arms are hard.
Yeah, right, because you got so many bumps.
Well, and the length, if you get the length wrong, it looks not like a real human.
Yeah, it looks like an orangutan, right? Long arms. It looks unnatural for a human, that is, right? So now we have this line here, right, for the wrist. Then we have this bump in here, and then it changes angle there like that. So 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. and this is the bump below here, and then it goes relatively straight out there like that. So the wrist. And then we see the body of the hand here, the back of the hand, as this basic geometric shape, right? With the fingers arriving halfway the length of the deltoid here. And we can also divide the fingers in blocks. See this part in here? We divide this, we draw this block here attached to the main body of the hand here. Down like this, see that? And then the index goes past that. Like that.
Okay, hang on, I got.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Need the card, please. Okay. This is the hand, and then the fingers sort of block.
See this? So we have this here first, right?
Right.
Attached to this, we tap this. See that? Kind of tapers this triangle here. See that?
Yep.
The little and then the index is, cylinders. You break it down, one and then two cylinders like that.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So we got a decent drawing. So now we move on to, from the line drawing, we move on to the tonal rendering, right? And the arm of my guy is a little bit longer. It looks like it's a little bit more open like that. I leave it like that. I don't worry about that too much, right? So I should make it even shorter, but that's fine like this, right? So let's try to squint and block in the shadow mass the way we see it here, all clearly defined, right? So maybe we can start with this arm here to start practicing a little bit. And then what I would do, Carol, if you have a blending stump, let's use it. But now let's block this in first as areas of value. See that here? This part in here, see that? Here. All of this is in the shadow mass, right? And the deltoid now gets, the top part in here gets a little bit of light. But then as you move here, all of this is dark. A little bit of the trapezius is darker. The torso here is darker. The armpit is darker, right? And all of this now, let's try to block in the line that define light mass from shadow mass. See that from here, right? Down here, and the pectoralis comes in, goes down like this, fold, another fold, and that is all of this area here. So I block in this line here. You need me to go over it again?
That would be great, because
Yeah.
I'm looking up and looking down.
Yeah, no problem. So we are here, right? So you see there is the line here is the line of the pectoralis, and this is the armpit. There's a dark area here. So we can block it in like this, right, like that. But now, from here, right, the pectoralis comes in, see that in, then it goes down toward the nipple, right? The nipple is about here. And then down again toward the end of the pectoralis.
Okay.
From here follows this, the bottom of the pectoralis comes in, and then now gets into this abs here and follow the folds of the abs here and here. See that?
Okay.
And that's now the fold created by the compression between rib cage and hips. So all of this now going, this is the clavicle, slightly above the clavicle, in front of the sternocleidomastoid, this triangle here, and all this arm in here, and then the side of this arm in here, which is going to block in later, are going to be in the actually we can block it in now. See this here, this is the bicep, shadow comes up like this and then come down toward the brachialis, bump, of the brachioradialis, bump of the muscle of the forearm, the extensor of the fingers, right? Then down to the side. So all of this in the shadow mass. And the face too, right from the ear to the front, right? And the jaw here to the front. Now the belly, we want to block in the belly. The genitals, we can mark them like this, and we might need to draw around them. But all this portion here now, as you get from this fold in here, right, down toward the navel, create a volume, a curve here for the belly, comes in and then goes down, another little bump in here, and down to the pubic bone. So all of this now is the shadow mass. So we block that in when you are done with a line, right? If you need me to go over it again, just let me know.
I think I'm pretty good.
Okay.
You can't be insulted by the penis I gave him, but. Alright.
So what we do now, we block in an even homogeneous layer of red chalk here. So there's a little bit of a triangle here at the between sternocleidomastoid and the corner of the jaw. We leave it white, right? Try to get this as a homogeneous layer of red chalk, and then we're gonna smooth it with a stump, with the blending stump.
Oh my gosh, look at yours.
Do you have any shows coming up or organizing for your work, or
Any shows?
did you enter any shows? Yeah, any competitions?
Oh, no. I'm not there yet. I go to shows sometimes.
Uh-huh.
I went to Doylestown, Keith Haring. I thought your kids might like to see that.
Oh, Doylestown. So is that originals that they have?
Keith Haring, they have a big show of his work. You know Keith Haring?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I love Keith Haring. And he was a wonderful human being.
Yeah. We
He
were.
fought for so many different causes. Hang on, I gotta get his stomach here. And gave his art away all the time, and he had the opportunity to become a really wealthy, famous artist and do works for really, and make a lot of money. And he said, no, art really is for everybody, and if I go that path, then nobody will be able to afford my work. And so he had a store in Manhattan, and people would come in, he'd make a little drawing and give it to them. Right there in the store. But he was a wonderful man. He died when he was 29.
Yeah, by AIDS, right?
But it's a great, I don't know if you've ever been over to the Michener Museum. Doylestown's a wonderful town, and they have a great bookstore.
Oh, Doylestown, New Jersey.
No, Doylestown, Pennsylvania.
Oh, Pennsylvania. Oh, yeah, Pennsylvania. No, I haven't. Was he from there?
They have the Michener Museum. Oh, and they have one of my favorite museums in the world, which was a house built by Henry Mercer.
Uh-huh.
And the tile works, the Mercer tile works, are fascinating.
Uh-huh.
It's just the town is the county seat for our county, but it's an adorable little town with good restaurants. And
Is it on the river?
Doylestown. It's not on the river, but it's much closer to you.
Uh-huh.
Probably half an hour from you.
Okay. Let me go. I want to go.
But it's a little town, but it has a lot. Stop short. Oh, it does have a college. It is the Bucks County College. But it's cute. It's small, but there's a ton of stuff in that little town.
We have a.
But look, if you write down, look up the Mercer Museum also. That's a fascinating place.
Mercer Museum, right?
There's the Mercer Museum. He built it. It's sort of like the original Guggenheim, where he built it on that swirl.
Mm-hmm.
Except he built it all out of concrete because he was afraid of fire.
Uh-huh.
And he was the original person who started to collect Americana stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then Mrs. Vanderbilt got a hold of it, and then the Fords and Williamsburg, the Rockefellers, and the big name people all collected also. Okay. But that's just and then he made his money making these raised tiles, which I'm sure you've seen around because they're everywhere around here. They're raised, pictorial, like farm scene kind of tiles. And that's there, and then the house that he eventually built. And that's where they had a fire once, and so everything in the house was concrete.
I see.
It's just different. It's interesting. Okay, I'm caught up with you.
So I blocked in this part in here. See this here?
Yes?
And just look at the pattern. Just look at the pattern of shadow mask, how wide it is here and narrower here, right? And there is now the knee, the pattern of the shadow of the knee here. And down there the lower leg, very light. You can also block a little bit of the shadow at the bottom of the thigh here, at the base of the thigh.
Okay.
And ankle. Now we can move on the other side, to the other side here, and block in this shadow mask of the adductors, see that, right next to the genitals here. You can do it without really marking an outline first, right? And then we have the division between adductors and quadricep here.
Yep.
And then we have the side of the thigh here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the side of the knee. And then this is the side of the lower leg. Find all these patterns, light mask and shadow mask, right?
Right. Where's Harriet? Is she not in this class? She's got COVID.
She cannot be here today because she has work to do, right, suddenly. So there should be 4. I thought it was 5, but then it was a mistake, and so we're going to be 4. But everybody signed up at the last moment. I was about to cancel the class because it was only Leora. And then this morning, yesterday, 2 people signed up, and this morning,
I came through.
this morning,
Leora came through for me.
she signed you up by mistake, I think, but then you can be in here. So
She's very generous.
I didn't know how to tell Leora I was about to cancel the class. Luckily, it didn't. And I said, let me give it another minute, right? And Eduardo set up the classroom this morning because we really sincerely didn't think it was going to run.
So what are you using there? A eraser?
So now it's an eraser to clean up a little bit. Now I'm going over with the blending stump here. See that?
Yep, I have to find my blending stump.
You see how the blending stump creates immediately a sense of depth. See that? From texture to depth, right?
Right.
You need a set of two of everything, right? You see that different backpacks in a different location when you go.
The desk I work on is in our family room, and it's a big table, and it's by the television, and it all works. But I got everything messed up because we went away, and I took half my stuff with me, and then I just haven't. My life is totally crazy right now.
Your what?
My life is just nutty.
Yeah.
We're home for a week, and I'm hosting 2 parties, and it's crazy. Okay.
Well, that party is good, right?
Not really.
No, not when you have to organize it, right?
No, I'm hosting and they're for people I don't know that well. She
Oh.
just asked me would I give her an engagement party,
I see.
and it's 45 people.
Wow, that's not a party. That's a major political convention.
I asked these 2 gals. I said, "Have you ever given a party this big?" No. And I'm like, "You have no idea how big that party is."
45 people is a lot,
I was in the restaurant business. I said most people would get this catered.
right? Yeah. Are you cooking? Are you cooking? You're crazy?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
it is crazy. Her other friend, I told her I don't do entrees because my husband does most of the cooking. There are a couple things I said I don't do that, so the friend is doing those. But and when you go to the gas station, oh my God, I filled up my car with gas yesterday. I was shell shocked.
Too much. 45 people cooking for 45 people. It's like
It's a lot. So I have to get all the garden. I have beautiful gardens, and I have to get those all ready. So I've been I haven't unpacked my artwork, in other words, until today. Until you were called up and said you're.
No, I asked you if you are doing shows because a lot of students that in this could sign up for this course are doing shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well, I know Harriet is trying to do some.
she does. Right, she does some, and then Carol Plimpton does some.
Was Carol in the class?
Not this class, but in my classes in general, right? So.
Right. No.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Elaine, maybe she does some. Then there's a couple more that are doing shows, and they are really, active in getting the stuff out, which is always a good thing to do because it helps you to push yourself, right?
Right. I think I told you the way I got involved is we went on a cruise.
How was it?
They offered in 2019. We went on a Cunard cruise,
Uh-huh.
England to New York, and we went with my son's in-laws, and she and I signed up for watercoloring every day,
Ah, okay.
and that's how we got involved in it.
I
It's
see.
Donna Mosaic, who I think has taken A class last spring from you, and then she traveled too. So. My stump is dirty. Excuse me 1 minute. I really have to go find my other stump. Oh gosh, that looks great.
And I'm polishing it with a piece of soft paper because the stamp is a little bit hard, and softer paper makes it give you that extra softness, right? But really see the sense of light and shadow how immediately come out when you smooth that first rough blocking in of the shadow mass.
Right. I'm gonna, in 1 minute, I'm gonna show you mine because I think some of my shadow masses are too soft. I haven't gotten that far with the.
Sorry, which one?
Oh, 1 second. Let me do this.
Oh, okay. It's pretty good. Wow, it's pretty good.
On the pectoralis, you can
Yeah,
add
I would.
dark
You could darken the shadow mask a little bit with another layer. So it's easy. You just go over it like with this, like this.
Right.
You just simply put more material in there, right?
Right. Okay. I'm gonna do a little bit of that and then try and catch up with the stumping. I had to clean my. I don't know where my good stump is. I know, I get confused. That's why sometimes I have to jump up and leave because I really work in the other room, but this room has a great big computer screen. And what happened to Angel? Is he driving cross country?
No, he's back. He's back. He's back.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been driving cross country and had a great vacation, and he's back now. He signed up for the Drawing Foundation too.
Yeah. I missed everybody last week.
Yeah, it's
I like our class.
we're becoming a nice group.
Yeah.
He rented a car for Saturday when he's gonna come here, and so he's gonna pick up the Model 2.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That other model you had was great, Steven.
Yeah, I found another model from the academy. His name is Catherine, and no, sorry, Sarah, and she's very good. She's an artist too, but she models for the academy, and she's not my student because I wouldn't. I don't want,
Yeah.
that would be strange, right? But she's another class. I think she's taken the CFA, the certificate at the academy, which is a 1 year intensive set of courses for no credit, but still, a lot of people take it.
You didn't do your legs yet, right?
Huh?
You haven't done your legs yet.
No, I'm waiting for you for the legs to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Getting there.
I'm just fixing up a few things because I needed to move the navel. So the navel was a little bit too much to the left, so I'm moving it a little bit. So I adjust little things as a to wait for you.
Okay, I'm gonna do, and you have a nice line around your outside.
Yeah, I cleaned up the line a little bit, right?
What I don't have is a face. I keep erasing my face.
Is it what, the face?
Yeah, I don't really have a face yet.
Well, just try to go together if you want to, right? So we have the space between here and here, right? From the forehead to the chin, right?
Yeah, can we measure that? Because I think that's where I'm off.
So if you have that, right, you see how the forehead is, as you line it up with the shoulder, it cuts in here, right? The side of the deltoid here, right? So from here, you can come down with a line that is almost vertical, almost, but not quite, right? And then you move in a little bit like this. So now, don't, let's say this occupies a third of the total length of the face, right, more or less. And then you come in with this kind of zigzag. See that? You look at this like a zigzag. See that?
Right.
Zigzag here. And the nose is also going in compared to the vertical to the left, like that, right?
Okay.
And then the mouth, for the mouth, I would block in a line, straight line like this.
Okay.
Without worrying, don't go around the mouth. Do a straight line like this. And then you carve out the mouth later. And the lips and the detail later, right?
Right. I have to stump that area. So you're getting excited for the trip?
Yeah, excited and concerned about all the things that I need to do, right? Insurance for. So you guys, again, make sure you have an insurance for in case somebody gets sick, right? You can stay at the hospital, and then I'm working on the insurance to see if we can have some sort of refund in case somebody gets sick, and if I can offer a refund, right? Because so we are also looking at these places that are COVID hospitals, meaning COVID hotels, right? Meaning you don't want to stay in a hospital now, but you can stay in a hotel that just for that. Because if you have COVID, I don't think you can stay in a hotel. You need to go in specific places. So I'm learning all these things as I go, and Eduardo is looking into it also. So all these details that are unpleasant, but they need to be done, right? So
Right. This COVID, when is it going to go away? It's terrible.
it's just terrible, right? It's just we're past a million deaths, right?
So sad.
So my daughter went to Minnesota to stay like 9 days with a boyfriend, and he was from New York, but he moved there, and then now he's planning to move back to go to graduate school to New York because he's from New York, from Brooklyn originally, and she had to take the plane because you don't drive at all. You don't drive to Minnesota. I mean, it's just
No,
yeah, it's just
no.
so she took the plane, and I told her keep the masks because the airlines now are saying no more masks, no more masks, and I think this is such a stupid move. No more mask. That's where you get it. You get it with crowded places. You get it with people that have COVID and they don't know it, right? And
Well, they don't care.
they don't care, right? So I said, you keep the mask. You keep the mask because it's no joke, right?
I would say we were in South Carolina. Now, we didn't go out a lot because it was like 50-mile-an-hour winds and rain. So
Uh-huh.
every day, all day, all night for a week was just amazing. But what was I going to say? Nobody had a mask.
Nobody has a
allowed
mask, right? Yeah.
Now I wear a mask to the grocery store now.
I wear it everywhere, and people look at me funny because it's a lot of people here that they believe in the conspiracy thing, and they look at me like, oh, you were, and they kind of give me aggressive looks, right? And I'm thinking,
Well,
you know what? I'm not wearing it because of me. I'm wearing it because of everybody, right? And I'm thinking, maybe you should wear one too, not because of COVID, because you're ugly. Right? Just wear a paper bag. Wear a paper bag. Your stupid face. They're like, when you get the smirk, right? the smirking, so disapproving smirk and saying, Jesus, really? We're like high school here, giving people disapproving things. I don't care if you disapprove of me, right?
Oh, yeah.
But
Some of the people coming to this party that we're giving are anti-vaxxers.
yeah,
On top of it all, it's like, how did this? My husband says, "How did you get this? How did this happen to you that you're giving this party?"
right. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with people, really. Stupidity is just so, I don't know, flooding the world now, right?
It really is. I mean, it is something else.
So now we're going to smooth this part in here, right? See this part in here, right? Darker here, darker here.
Well, I got my second booster yesterday.
Oh yeah, I need to get it myself. I
It's
have
so easy to get.
see if I can get it today, or because today I should have time to do it.
I felt like since we're going away, and then I'll be home for a week, and we'll leave for Italy.
Yeah, I know you need it. Right.
I'm going to Las Vegas.
Well, you should wear 2 masks in Las Vegas. We get like a scuba diver gear, right?
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, this will be my 3rd or 4th trip to Las Vegas, and I could have done it in one, frankly. But we're going for a birthday party.
Oh, okay.
My husband's oldest friend. So,
When is it that you're going?
next Thursday.
Oh, okay.
We're going to Denver and then to Moab, to Canyonlands and Arches.
Oh, nice. Take pictures. Make watercolors
Mesa
there.
Verde.
So beautiful. When I wanted to go to Mesa Verde, it was years ago. It was burning. It was a fire. We couldn't go.
I remember that. I remember when they had a
You
fire.
remember that? It was years and years ago. And we were there. We were so disappointed. The whole thing was burning. It was so sad. Moab didn't have time to go because we had so many things. There's the fire furnace, and then all the painted desert, and all it was so many things to see, and the time we had wasn't sufficient, right? Although it was like 10 days, but still, like 12, still so much stuff, right?
You go. I wiped out his genitals. Sadly, my man has no genitals left.
You did what?
I wiped out his genitals. I have to put
Okay, that's okay. We can put them back, right? We can restore them. Like plastic surgery today does miracles.
No, it's such a beautiful place, and like my son's never been out there, and I want to say it's like going to a whole nother country. It doesn't look anything like the
Yeah, absolutely. I really want to take my kids there because I went with Angie before we had the kids, and just a year or 2 before we had the kids, and it was so beautiful, so beautiful. Everything there, like Colorado, Oregon, all that area there, so gorgeous. Like,
So I'm excited. My husband has a bad knee, so
uh,
it's a little tricky for him. So we'll see. It's a
now-
lot of bus time.
now I'm gonna come down right with this along the inside of the thigh. I'm blocking a little bit of shadow for the fingers here, right? This part in here of the cloth, maybe I just blocking a little bit just to give some solid base for the thigh we're to lean on here, right? Not because it matters much. So this is apocryphal story. I don't know if it's true or not. We think it's true about Vasari was idolizing Michelangelo, and rightly so, right? Michelangelo was a divine, etc. and then he was kind of creative of some sort of one of the first art histories, right, of the world, right? Just describing the various artists and what they did and their style and this and that. Le Vite, right? So there's an episode where he is showing Michelangelo, Vasari showing Michelangelo one of his painting that he did, right? And Vasari was all proud of it and said, it's a big fresco, or all painting, I can't remember. And Vasari said, look, I did this in 3 days. And Michelangelo looks at that and he says, it shows. Oh, oh. And still, Le Vasari was just idolized, Michelangelo, because, he knew he was a genius, right? But when Michelangelo tells you it shows, oh, that hurts. That hurts.
Now let me ask you a question. Do you seem to know almost everything about Renaissance art. Do you like other periods of art?
Well, Baroque. I love Baroque. I love, I love pretty much all art when it's done in a very intelligent way. And I just, even modern art, I do love. I find that artists such as Damien Hirst or I think Damien Hirst is a genius. Right? Whether you, but genius, there is different type of genius, right? There's the evil genius.
Oh no, we don't.
And
who's that person you like?
Damien Hirst, right?
Oh, okay.
The one that did the shark in formaldehyde. Did you ever see that? So he's a genius because he's manipulating the market, the speculation of the market, and I mean, using art to speculate, pretty much the way you speculate in finance. But he's basically took the art back, profit from art back, from galleries and art critics and people that were really taking the control of the artistic product away from the artist, and financially at least. And he said, no, I'm gonna. So what he did, he bypassed galleries, and he started selling his art only in auction houses. And what that does, when you're in an auction house, where your work is in anything that's in an auction house, can potentially create a bidding war, right?
Yeah.
So if you go to an art gallery, to exhibit to an art gallery, it's different. The environment is much more controlled, is much more poised, and you talk to the gallerist, and the gallerist says, you can have this, you cannot have this, what you're doing with this, this is how much it costs. You can negotiate and discuss and talk about it. And maybe at the end of the 3-hour discussion or 2 months discussion, the client says, oh, okay, I got to talk to my wife about it or to my husband about it, right?
Yeah.
So but what he does, he puts his artwork into a bidding war. I create a bidding war, so then the prices skyrocket. But now it's not like everybody can do that. He built up that gradually with years, creating this image, this brand name from himself. Okay. And so now collectors want to have his work because he's a brand name. He means wealth. He means the hottest artist. He means things that are really not necessarily connected with aesthetics. But status, right? It's
right.
So he knows that. He knows that he's using that, and I think that is the genius of him. Because art represents the values of a society in any given time in history, right? So the main value for us today is money. That's the value that moves everything, right? So if you see everything's being now monetized, everything, right?
Yeah.
So we said, well, why not art? And art is now is turned into currency. In fact, now you must have seen that a lot of from the NFT to speculation, now that is being used as a way to, because the NFT it creates speculation, right? Pretty much like any digital currency. It's just a pyramid scheme, right? And also artists, the people that buy art today, collect buy art today, mostly are buying it so that they can sell it back again in maybe a year or two or three and double or triple their investment. So it's about investment, right? Not about aesthetic. So he is using that very well, and I think that is his genius. He's using art to get rich, but also at the same time speculate, and making a comment, making a commentary, and which is really not overt, right? About how people can get into this greed mode, and same thing that other artists do, but not, in more or less overt way, right? But Banksy, for example, he does it in an overt way. If
I
you
love Banksy. I think Banksy's a riot.
Yeah, I just love it. I just love it. I think we need a person like him, right? And so he does the same thing, but he denounces it somehow, right? Denounces it. But our artists don't. They take advantage of it. They're called what is called accomplices in the system, right? So, but what I'm saying is that reveals this mechanism reveal aspects of the society through the art, or through the marketing of the art.
Right.
And so Maurizio Cattelan is another one. But there is quite a few artists that I really like, but Baroque, I would say Baroque. I love Baroque too, and I'm liking now more and more Rococo,
Wow.
because it's not as frivolous as it has been depicted for many years. Right? It really tackles a certain aspect of humans that is quite interesting, right?
And we're sort of getting back there in our society. With the wealthy, have the rich are rich, and the rest of us are not.
Right? Yeah, no, there's a big division in but Watteau, he was painting for the bourgeoisie. This is before the French Revolution. He was painting for the bourgeoisie, right? And I don't think he had any nobles among his patrons, right? Okay, so we're getting there, right?
Yes. I'm working on my legs now. I got a little lost in the pelvic and stomach area.
Okay, well that's fine. We don't need to rush it, right? So I think this is a good way of bringing together the measuring, bringing together light match and shadow mask, and also the tonal rendering. As you can see, we blocking in all this the work we did so far is throughout the whole figure all the time. We didn't focus on little areas and then attach the leg and then attach the arm later on. We just blocking the measurement, the whole figure first, and then blocking the light match, shadow match in the whole figure, and then now we can, from moving on for now, we can start extending the tonal scale in a more localized way. But one thing that is, I always insist that needs to be done with my student is don't draw the head and the torso and half an arm and then finish it tonally, and then move on to a leg and then finish it tonally. because it could be that as you proceed, you find some problems with
Right.
the orientation of the leg versus the torso, and it's much more difficult to fix that, right?
Yes.
So, for example, in here, and then at a certain point, there are things here that are not exactly the same, meaning this curving here, right? In my drawing, is a little bit less pronounced than it's in here. Fine. This curving here, it's a little bit more less pronounced in my drawing that is in here. Fine. Certain point, I decided, right, that's good enough. But I want to be aware of it. I want to be aware of how all these things come together. And probably this leg, because this is too straight, because this leg is slightly too long. This fine. You know, I just fine. I decided that that could be still okay, but it's a decision that I make, right?
Right.
So now here, what we could do actually, I could maybe block in this a little bit wider here, right? Because I see there's a much steeper passage, so probably could turn this, widen this a little bit here, widen this a little bit here to create a little bit more of a sharp change of angle here, right? Yesterday I was really worried about the tornado warning because
Yeah, big tornado.
it's just, you know, for the last year we had so many, and I had so many damages from right, flooding in the basement, which now I think I resolved mostly. Um, a tree got hit by lightning, and I got this beautiful walnut tree now dead. Two routers fried by lightning that fell very close to the house, right? And one killed the tree. So it just so yesterday I thought, oops, we are getting into tornado season or hurricane season here, right? Because it seems like now we have hurricane season in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And
We had actually,
and for you too, guys, because you had a tornado touching down in Bucks County a couple of years ago, right?
oh, we had one touchdown the day before Labor Day weekend, a mile from us, mile and a quarter from us, that took out a huge amount of roofs in this town that are, you know,
Or was it last year? Not
really bad tornado here.
huh? Was it last year? Not 2 years ago
Yeah.
then? Oh,
Last
right.
September.
Yeah, it was 20 miles from here, from my place. So
Right, there were a lot there, and there were a lot, and there were some around us, but one was just really, like the whole high school, the roof flew off.
oh wow.
The fields got ruined. It's really pretty bad. And you see it today. You go down the highway near my house.
Oh really?
It's still all ripped up.
Oh, I didn't fix it yet.
Not all of it. No, some
The-
got fixed.
Oh,
But there was a whole neighborhood that lost their houses.
oh wow.
They said there were more tornado warnings in our region than there were in Oklahoma last year.
Yeah, we had 5, right?
More, I think there were more than. I mean, that one storm, there were like 15 different tornadoes,
Wow.
depending on where you were. Because we were going away the next day to the top of the Chesapeake, and I was scared that we had people flying in from different parts of the country for
Huh.
Labor Day weekend. And I was like, what if we can't go? What if the whole house is blown off because it's on the water?
Right.
It didn't get hurt. It's not my house, so. We figured that's when we can get the kids together with us, is Labor Day weekend, or when they have a long weekend, we can go somewhere and make vacation with us.
So, were you able to kind of soften the shadow mask?
I think I'm pretty good. Oh, I just took out my fabric.
I adjusted a few things here and there, right? Like the profile of this leg in here, I made it a little bit more sculpted. And we can still work on this a little bit, right?
You want to see mine?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just soften this down. And the face, I just really haven't. Let me just put in a little mouth for him.
So you're gonna check, and they're gonna check if Ramona called it. No.
Okay. Or if you need a cup, do you need a cup of coffee?
No, that's okay. If you want, we can take a break, right? But I'm okay with that.
I like your second eye.
Which one?
You have like a shadow where the other eye would be.
Oh, the eye here, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's just a shadow, right?
Yep. No, I just gave him an eye. Okay. All right. This pencil, if I don't cover it up, it gets all over the whole drawing. Messy. Okay.
Okay, that's good. Very nice. Okay, very nice. Perfect. Very good drawing.
No, I'm happy with him.
Very good drawing. Carol.
Well, I have a very good teacher.
So let's block in now, extend the tonal scale a little bit more, right?
Okay.
So I think we block in a good base, right, of value. It looks dark. What you did looks darker now. It's a good base because I was looking to see this area here that are the lightest value here, right? And at least that everywhere. Now we can go back in either with the you can keep working with the pit pastel, right, or with generals, right, but not oil base, right? The pit pastel, not oil base. Keep going with the non-oil base, and then we refine. We extend the tonal scale. I think we're gonna make a nice drawing today. It's gonna be really nice and finished.
Okay, good.
So now let's start maybe from this arm here, right? I'm going to clean up this. This still has a little bit of a structure, which I don't really mind leaving like that, but here I'm going to block in the wrist. And you see what happening here with these lines in here. Some lines get thicker, some lines get thinner, right? And then thicker, it varies the thickness of the line as a way of suggesting volume, right? It suggests the volume much more efficiently if you have a line that is varying in thickness, right?
Yes.
I've been struggling to work on finishing my fence and hedge against the neighbor, because I want to go away with a nice, with the grass, right, planted and everything. So, but I think I got some sort of always cutting grass, etc. Some allergy, not a lot, right, but feels like allergy going on. And then of course I look at the windshield of the car. It's all covered with pollen. It's
yeah, this is bad pollen season.
yeah.
You can't get your kids to cut your grass, huh?
My son is helping me. He's getting chopping wood, and I need to create some place where to burn the excess wood, because I got so much wood that is rotted, etc. And I need to kind of burn it, right? I made piles with the wood that is good, but there's a lot of dead branches and trees, and they are kind of rotted, and
they're not good for firewood.
no, they're not good for firewood, right? So they're good for carpet ants.
Ah, good.
So now we come down like this, and we see there's a little bit of so this part in here we can block in slightly darker here, the rest right here. I'm working on a small area because I'm trying to practice a little bit. I want to practice a little bit this tonal rendering here, and there's a line that very barely visible. See here, goes across down like this. Actually, let me enlarge this, right? Let me enlarge this so we can focus on
See that?
like that, right? This is a little thin line here like that, very carefully, and this in here because that is a volume, right? So here's a very faint area of value here and here, right? Because that is the bottom of the volume of the flexor, right? This is all the flexor right here. So in the thing is that in the shadow mask, it's really important to have a good smooth base, right? But in the light mask is not as important because the shadow mask you want it to recede, right? And the light mask instead having these lines that are structural helps in creating a sense of three-dimensionality because those lines instead of receding come forward toward us. But they had to be controlled. They had to be done with a certain elegance in the mark and control. Otherwise they are not describing the volume anymore. They're just describing themselves, and you don't achieve the sense of three-dimensionality, right? They become abstract. So here I'm darkening out up this part in here at the core shadow right here a little bit, and then because we are still in the shadow mask, I'm going to darken this part in here, smooth it, right, with a stump. Then we have here another line here that is relatively dark. See, that is also the core shadow here. It's just barely visible, but it's a line here that kind of, it really marks the passage from light mask to shadow mask. Then this part in here is darker. Here, see that here?
Right, the turn in.
Right, yeah. So you see how smooth, how subtle these tonal passages are, and it's much more difficult to see them if you try to finish an area, just blocking in all the values in a small area and then move on to another areas because you don't have the tonal relationships if you do that. But this way, we start out with the weakest value of the shadow mask and then gradually build up on top of that, maintaining coherence between the various values, right? Baccio Bandinelli. So in this epic verbal fight between Michelangelo and Leonardo, I think that Leonardo ridiculed one of Michelangelo's drawing because he said the body of that was depicted in the drawing looks like a sack full of nuts.
Huh?
Because Michelangelo was pushing the volume of the figure, right? So it was making the more, like the tension, the muscular tension of some of his work is reflecting a psychological tension, right? So those works are so the bumps, the muscle are so pushed, and that in a way that Leonardo wouldn't do it because he was looking for this harmonious relationship between the parts of the body. So it was more about concern about balance and harmony. But Michelangelo, especially in the second half of his life, he was concerned about emotional tensions, right? And then the work show it. His work show it, like the rebellious slave, the dying slave, the last Pietà that he did. There are all this movement, and the bodies in Sistine Chapel with gigantic bodies and small heads, right? But I think it was Vasari that said something similar about that sculpture of that you can find, Cacus, Herculean Cacus, that you can find in Florence. And he said that that Cacus and Hercules looked like a sack full of melons. because I guess Hercules was bigger, right? So
Wow.
it was not nuts; it was melons, right? And probably he used the same insult. Was inspired by the insult that Leonardo hurled at Michelangelo, right?
And who wrote all these down? That's the funny
Well,
thing.
that's the thing, right? Who knows, right? Maybe people were there witnessing the fight, right? The verbal fight, and
I mean, it's not like they had video cameras back then.
no, but it would be nice, wouldn't it? If we had cameras back then and see the fight between Michelangelo and Leonardo. So now we're blocking in this volume. See that more and more, right?
Right.
I see how kind of it's easier now to maintain this volumetric coherence, right? Because we know where the darkest value is, we know where the lightest value is, what intermediate value is, and we kind of really model our figure, right?
Right. I got my shadow wrong. So we have one more painting class tomorrow, right?
So we have well, one tomorrow, and then there's another one, right? No, wait.
I'm
Painting class watercolor, you're saying?
Is it number 6, I guess?
Of watercolor, not oil painting. Watercolor.
Watercolor.
Yeah. Yeah, tomorrow is the last one, right? But then I'm gonna start another one of 4 session because I see that a lot of students really love watercolor, and I think that I already had some student asking for another one. So I thought that after a while people got tired of it, but no, watercolor is really among the most popular classes. So I keep offering it.
Well, at this point, Roberta, we have all invested in a lot of paint.
Yeah, right.
Oh, this color is nice.
A lot of paint, a lot of paper.
Yeah.
So
I have to wait until after we get back because I just
yeah, no, you cannot paint there. Right? It's just so now we're blocking in. So this lower part is dark. See that here, darker, and then it gets down to the level of the armpit, right?
I'll be right back. I have to go
Yeah,
get something.
yeah. Gotta keep the pencil sharp here. I think that this work was bigger. I couldn't find the size, but I think the original was bigger than what we're doing. So that would make a difference in terms of how fine or thin those lines are perceived, right? But still, you want to keep your tool very sharp all the time. There you go. That.
There's something very wrong with my arms, and I think it's just too big. And
Oh yeah, it's too big. The bicep is too big. I see it now. So look
on
at
the top or the bottom?
so here and here.
Uh,
See that? See that? Look at this passage 1 and 2. See that how it goes down deep here?
right.
And then here there's a change of angle here. That needs to be more sculpted. See that?
Right.
That can be fixed.
All right, I'm gonna take a couple minutes and just try and, because it looks like a big red balloon landed there. Yeah, but working, it just doesn't look right. You know, and sometimes you just can't see it.
Yeah. So the
That's
thing
so
is,
bizarre.
the thing is this. Then some problem become evident when you block in the light mask and shadow mask, because the pattern of the shadow mask is very different. It makes it more visible.
Yeah.
So it's wider, it's narrower, straighter, whatnot, right? So you had to wait until you have a. I mean, the shadow mask, when you block in the shadow mask, that will reveal eventual problems or confirm if you have done a good job, right? So
This one was thick on the top and the bottom.
yeah, so this is the dip. See this dip in here. There's a dip here.
Yeah.
Right? And this is a change of angle here.
Now he's too skinny. His arm is too skinny, for goodness sake. Jeez.
Take a break from that, Carol. Take a break from that and keep working on the chest now. We'll solve it later, because it might become too obsessive,
Exactly.
right? And then later, what you need to do is you go over this arm in here, right? And just overroll everything like this, blocking this here, over that, blocking line like that.
Okay.
Just very assertively to try to reframe it, and then erase what you don't need. Don't try to fix it to changing this. Just redraw over it, right? Or you can even erase the whole arm and redraw it. It's going to be easier probably.
Okay.
But now let's block in here. See,
Over the chest, yeah.
see, now we move on here, right, to this side in here, and you see there are little thin lines going this way right here. Very, very thin line. Those lines are there to build up a tonal gradation in a more refined and deliberate and accurate way. See that here? So you think that these guys were doing this with a piece of rock, piece of chalk.
Yeah.
It was sharpened, it was prepared, but now here we have this part in here. See how dark it is here, right?
And those lines go in a different direction.
Yes, exactly. So start kind of weaving or hatching, right? Hatching a little bit, right? Now we block in the clavicle here. Trying to see if I maintain this light mass here and shadow mass here, right? This is a triangle of the throats right here. This is fairly dark, so I'm gonna darken the whole thing. Also because it's gonna give me the clavicle. See that here and here. So I have a value here, slightly darker. See that here? That value there, slightly darker here.
Right.
And then this is darker here. So now what we did before is similar to what we did before, when we block in the whole area of shadow mask, but it's more deliberate, right? A little bit more deliberate, right? And localized. So the packing here, so I block this part of the deltoid here, the shoulder, and here is the clavicle. Such a beautiful day.
It is.
If I haven't, I'm gonna try to drag my son out going fishing, because
Oh,
he's,
nice.
yeah, I mean, I got plenty of stuff to do, but I just have to, because you know, he's done with school. He's waiting for the driving permits, so he can't go anywhere, and he's, you know, basically he's in this room and just comes out once in a while for lunch, and then goes back and playing video game with his friends, or but even reads and stuff, you know, online, etc. That stuff. But I need him to get out, and it's such a beautiful day today, right?
Well, maybe we won't make a real long class today.
I'm sorry.
Maybe we won't make a real long class today.
A real long what?
A long class. Maybe we will make a shorter class.
No, that's okay. We are almost done. I mean, no, because we had to eat, right? Gotta get lunch ready and stuff, and so no, I'm gonna go this evening when it's less hot and there's fewer people. So just to stay out of the house. And I like to go fishing in the evening. It's kind of relaxed, and there's one fish come out. See that? Oh, this part in here is now, there's a lot of this part in here, little very subtle value. See that here, right? Here like this. There's a value here like that, right? And then here, all this value here, we need to block in the value here. See that?
Yeah.
So as we darken this area here, now we need to darken the shadow mask, because now the contrast between the two values is not as strong as it was before, because before it was a dark area against a light area, and this one also need to be slightly toned down a bit like that, right? So now here I need to go over the area of the shadow mask here and enhance the contrast between light mask and shadow mask. Edoardo went to Veneto. They have close to Venezia. There's a water polo tournament that he is organizing with one of the main organizers, and it's for kids, right? It's to promote water polo, because he was a water polo player and then water polo coach, and now he's a water polo activist promoter. So he's up in Venice. It's like a tournament that is becoming quite big, and he's one of the founders. So he's really not able to help me in case some technical thing goes awry, so I'm a little bit nervous.
You're doing so well.
Right.
The first couple of classes were a little sketchy, but it really got better right after that.
Yeah, right.
It's just the sad part is some of that lives on in some people's minds.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, we're back to where we were. Like, no.
But now the Jerry had some problem with his email, and we cannot figure out what's going on. He said that he cannot get in, and I believe him. I don't know why he cannot get in using the link. The link puts in, but Eduardo tried the same link that he sent back. Hey, Eduardo can't get in. He can get in, so I don't know what's going on. And you know, one of those technical thing that you're really not sure why it happened, right?
Yeah.
Only certain people, because generally is the only person that has
Who
this
is it?
problem. And I don't think it's because he's doing something wrong. I think it's simply some sort of magical internet connection that is gone awry, right? And
I wonder how old his computer is.
I'm sorry,
How old his computer is.
how old?
His computer.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But he has no problem with the other two courses he signed in. It's just this one course that he's
That's odd.
it's just one, you know, one of those things that what's going on, right? But today is, you know, is becoming more and more problematic to paradoxically to communicate and contact and have for example, I received the jury duty summon Friday, right? So right away I said, can I, and I should be serving on June 27th. So I called them back and I said, I want you to tell them, look, I'm in Italy, I have to work, I cannot really cancel this. I have, 22 students, but of course, you cannot talk to anybody. So you had to go online, fill in forms, and answer the forms.
Oh, it's
And
so
the form,
annoying.
you can never tell what's going on, what's your problem. They give you a menu of choices, and of course, that was not my situation was not in the menu, right? So I asked for this, and the letter was addressed to Osti Conrad, right? And I thought, all right, that's addressed to the household. So then I write and ask for an exemption. I fill in all these forms and send it to various people without ever talking to anybody because you can't.
Right.
So then I got the answer from the judge and says, no, sorry, you can't because for some reason that it was not a reason that I wrote down. So I don't know what the. So anyway, then I call the court here in Flemington, and they answer me. I found the number, right? I found the number. They answer me, and the lady helped me right away. And it turns out that as I was filling up the stuff, I noticed that one on the card it says Osti Conrad, but then in online, when I was able to access this document that they asked me to fill in all the data, it says Osti, Angela Osti Conrad. So it was for my wife, but the name was wrong because it said Angela first name, middle name Osti, which is not the middle name, Conrad last name. So I figured they made a mistake, and when I called the lady, she said that they used the name that is in the house, the deed of the house, the property,
Oh, okay.
and that's Osti Conrad, right? So they used that, and so I had to call and said, look, my wife is deceased, and so they were able to change it right away on the lady though. The lady, she did it as I was talking to her. But if you go online, you cannot do that. They don't let you do that, and there is no outside
No,
of
they
the.
don't let you be away for travel, or
No, I mean it's my wife is there. She cannot be there, right? But I couldn't tell them, right? I couldn't tell them, right? Because they had that was not one of the options that they were presenting me with. So it's convenient for them because they don't have to hire too many people to answer the phone. But it really, I had to waste 3 days trying to figure that out.
that's ridiculous.
That's the thing. If I waste 3 days, not a problem for them, right? As long as they don't have to hire so many people to take care of these things. So anyway, so paradoxically is that they are relying more and more on machines and robots and stuff like that, and because it saves them money, but it's really not. In many cases, it's really not convenient for us, right? So anyway, So I'm not surprised as these things happen in the digital world, like email, social media, etc., when it's difficult to communicate or fill in forms or whatnot, right? So, all right, so I'm gonna block in this part in here darker. See that? All this darker, right? All this, the profile of the figure is darker here. See that, right? See that?
Right, right.
And this is darker here. So I think that the red of the pit pastel is quite good compared to other reds, other sanguine colors from Cretacolor, even General. Generals is very good in terms of hardness, but it's a little bit too light. This instead is a good combination between the hardness, which is a good hardness. It's fairly hard, and color that has a good tonal extension, but also a nice warmth. Also, you notice that as you use the stamp to blend the first layer, right, the color gets warmer. The basic color gets warmer compared to, so the color like this, right, block it like this, and then you stamp it, it gets a warmer glow. See that? Or almost orange.
Yes.
Almost orange, whereas when it's not stamped, it leans more toward the violet. And that is common of many, even color pencil do the same thing. So I'm stamping also as I go. When I get to the darkest values in here, I undarken it by stamping it, because see now probably here I would need to put in another layer of value here like this, smooth, flat, and then I would go over it with the stamp, and then maybe sculpt, because I see a little bit of thin little lines like this, right? They kind of are more framing lines, right? And the framing line that kind of help in creating a more accurate tonal rendering, more extended tonal rendering in smaller values, right? Because you cannot really do an accurate tonal rendering when you block in big areas of value. These need to be more localized. How's it going? You're up to speed?
Okay, I think so.
Okay, good.
I'm back on the face again.
Don't worry about the face. Get the easier part in here, which are bigger and easier to modulate, because the face has so many tiny little things, right? They're too recognizable, too easily recognizable, and but these are volumes. It could be, a little bit rounder, a little bit less round. Doesn't make much of a difference. But at the same time, you practice that tonal rendering, right? After a while that you practice tonal rendering, then you you got some sort of manuality, you got some sort of confidence, knowing what you're doing with the tonal rendering. Then you can tackle smaller areas. But these are kind of, they help you in the sense that they're not as difficult as the small tonal passages that you have in the face. Or again, the face, you have a nose that's slightly too long, it kind of makes a big difference. But in the case of the packs, if the pack is a little bit longer, short, it doesn't make much of a difference. We don't really have. So the face is connected with expression, right? So we are much more discerning with the facial features than we are with the abdomen or with the pectoralis or whatnot. So
It's just ugly. I had to fix it a little.
you see the little line now. You see the little line. It would be nice if I could not find a higher resolution image. So sadly. Um,
Sometimes what happens is I'll be, coloring, and then I just get too much.
Too much, yeah. That's why you gotta be careful with developing an area, not completely, and then develop the next area, and then you go back like a typewriter style. Right? You go back and then start it over again and go down, because you need to.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean you want to maintain want to have a careful control over the tonal development. That has to be grow. Imagine like something kind of in the oven, like a bun that kind of grows evenly. If you have bumps in the bread here and there developing unevenly, it's not good. You want to develop those forms, those volume growing harmoniously.
Well, because your pectoralis on the side you're working on now is almost the definition is hardly there. It's just shadow.
Yes,
Not
yeah,
that side, the
yeah,
other side.
exactly. So that's what I'm saying. The tonal passages are so subtle here and there that are you have to get rid of all the lines and then change them into areas of values.
Right. Because I was working, and I thought, why does this look like he's cut in half?
Because you had that line too sharp, right?
Because I had the pectoralis, both of them defined too clearly.
Yeah. So see, if you squint, you just see there's a line here because that's the fold of the skin right here,
Yeah.
and that's fine. But there's no sharp line anywhere here, right?
Right. Yeah, that squinting is quite a tool. Works.
I'm sorry, Carol.
The squinting works.
The squinting worked, right? Yeah.
Where are we now? Down around the belly? Okay.
Look at Carol. Look at this side. See that 1 and 2. See that 1, 2. Because there's the top part of the belly here, and it has a volume here like this, here, right? And then the lower part of the belly here.
I see why you make your pencils longer when you. I mean, I have to practice sharpening with a knife.
Yeah, see, try to do this, right? So take. You need a very sharp knife, right? It doesn't have to be big. It has to be thin, very thin, right? Very thin. So I found my father's knife. It was you found it, right? You remember I lost the knife. I couldn't find the knife last time we were here.
Oh
Oh, no, you're not here. You're not here. You are not here. And I guess when we clean, people have to help to clean, and somebody put it in the back of the dishes where I never put the knife, and I guess it was on the dish and ended up there. And I found it like a week later when we got some dishes out, and it was there. So, but anyway, this knife is very thin, right, and flat, and it can be sharpened to a very very sharp line, almost razor-like, and flat is good because you can go almost parallel to the pencil. See that, like that.
How often do you have to replace your pencils?
replace the what?
Pencils.
One when they were out, right?
Yep.
But if you
Yeah.
get the pencil extender, you can use them till they are little tiny little stump.
Oh, I have that. That I have.
So when the pencil gets this long, right? When the pencil gets
Yeah.
this long, then I stop because it doesn't it wobbles in the pencil extender. But you can use it until it's like an inch or two. Then with the sandpaper here, when you sand this, try to do this, right? Keep it like this. Go up and down like this. Don't use it like this
Oh, really?
because it might break, right? So if you use it like this, see that? Go down like that here, like this. Is somehow is easier to sharpen it without breaking it, and it gets a longer, more tapered point. After that, right, when you have this longer taper point, you keep turning, right? I keep turning this, right? Let me see if I can show you. See the fingers here? I keep turning the finger, right? That it rotates. I'm rotating the pencil. See that?
Yes.
And once you have a long point like that, then later you can also do this to touch it up. Keep it flat like that to touch it up. But this gives you a longer, more conical point. And then touching it up, you do this, that's fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see,
Then next, you want to take off the excess dust from the pencil, because otherwise you have dust in here that typically drop onto the drawing and makes a mess, right? So here now we have, I see little lines in there, like this, right? These little lines in here like this, right? Structural line that also used to darken the value right here at the level of the pubic bone here. This is an area here of darker value with the light, the reflected mass here, the reflected light here. See that? There's a core shadow here, and that's a reflected light here, the other side.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You see it? It's just barely visible, right? It's just barely visible, but there's a little bit of a glow. And now this portion here is darker at the inguinal ligament. So now we're blocking the deltoid here, coming down from here. The deltoid is darker here, see that? Bicep. Actually, deltoid is also darker here a little bit. she's a little bump, right, developing, and of course we need to block in this, smooth that, right, smooth this a little bit, and you see here there's a little volume right here, see that, just barely visible, right? That's the head of the humerus. So that's why we were having this discussion. I don't know if you're part of it, about David Hockney's theory on optical. The artists were using optical devices to paint in the Renaissance and Baroque, and especially Vermeer. He was saying about Vermeer, right?
David Hockney?
Yeah.
Did you say? Oh, I love David Hockney. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I love his work. It's just this theory that he come up with. It's just very non-serious. I mean, it's true they were using, a lot of artists were using optical devices, but he is also saying that all the artists were using optical devices when they were doing something realistic, and it's really not true, right? So when you look at this work in here, for example, you can clearly see the line of construction that are not done with the optical device. Optical device, you just make a line exactly the way it is. In here you have tentative line, not necessarily in this one working here, not very visible, but actually you do see there right here. He goes on saying that all the artists were using optical tool because nobody can draw that precisely. And he says that, for example, how during the Renaissance, there's this incredible sudden progress in drawing the human figure from very clunky during the Gothic period to incredibly realistic in a very short period of time. Except that short period of time is about 200 years.
Yeah.
Meaning, not 200, but maybe 100, right? But with the advent of the anatomical study, and you look at the drawing of Leonardo, which is just beautiful. You look at the anatomical studies of Michelangelo, they're just beautiful. But if you look at the first drawing that were trying to depict the correct anatomy by Pollaiolo, for example, they were okay, but they were not that great anatomically speaking. They were just starting, right? Masaccio, right? Masaccio, don't think he did dissection, but he was trying to be realistic, but he was realistic, it was okay, but it was not, it was gradual, right? So we had to wait until, even Botticelli was doing beautiful work, but the anatomy sometimes is wonky, right? Because there was not that deep knowledge that developed in the course of a century. So that transformation between the Gothic representation of the human body, which was not really informed by anatomy, to the anatomical precision of the Renaissance, didn't happen overnight. But he's
and a lot happened in society too.
Yeah, right. So, but also the theory of incarnation, the doctrine of incarnation, where the divinity, Jesus becomes now more human, right? So it's important to depict him more like a human than an icon, right? Or a tortuous crucifix, right? Stylized crucifix, right?
Also come through the Germans a little, like they were depicting Christ on the cross, like brutally killed, like very realistic. I thought.
Yeah, well, eventually in the Baroque, that becomes important, right? The Baroque becomes important to show scenes of martyrdom that are very realistic, because it was just to glorify, or to bring as an example the sacrifice of the martyr, right? As the Counter-Reformation was really kind of reframing the use of art, what the art was for, right? Not humanistic approach anymore, but for the glory of God, right? So I like Hockney, but I think he did that work only it got published mostly because he's famous.
Yeah. Oh,
Because there's a
sure.
lot of holes in. I mean, there is a lot of interesting stuff, right? And optical work that they did are interesting, but it's not the whole picture. He carefully avoids. If you would go in any high level academy or atelier today, he would find people that can copy exactly what you see beautifully, very realistically, without using any optical device. But he doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. So
No.
that is kind of right. So you're thinking that it's impossible to do so. It is possible. What he's saying is also that I took some drawing courses just to specialize my just to get to see if it's possible, and I could not do it. All right, you cannot do it. Right? There are people that can do it, so why don't you ask them, right? So it's I don't know. It kind of irks me a little bit,
Yeah, I get that.
but it's I love his work. He should stick to his work and say, you know what, your work is great. Be happy with that. Don't be envious of other people that can do stuff that you cannot do because other people cannot do stuff you can do. So
And he's very stylized.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's very stylized, and it's fine. It's just gorgeous work, right? He's really love it, right? But it's not realism. Is not his passion. It's not what he was trained for. It's not, you know. You don't need to. He doesn't need to diminish.
Right.
Because in the end, that is the thing, right? He just if I cannot do it, right, it means that nobody can do it.
Which is sort of silly.
It is, right?
I was in a class, an earlier class, and there was a woman taking the class who was an accomplished watercolorist. But she wanted to hear how the teacher taught the class because she had been put in charge of teaching the class herself.
She has been doing what?
She, this woman, was a painter,
Uh-huh.
and she was in a class, and the teacher got too sick to teach, and got her, this young woman, to teach. And so she was taking a different class from a woman who is a really excellent beginning teacher
Uh-huh.
to learn how to teach. But we saw the artwork of the painter,
Uh-huh.
and she painted like a peacock feather in watercolor, just perfect. I mean, just in pine cone, and you look at the work, and I'm sure it's a lot like the work you do. You're like, how do you do that in watercolor?
Uh,
It was just so realistic. So I don't agree with David Hockney.
so she was taking courses to learn how to teach.
Yes, there's a woman who teaches in Ambler, Ann Brennan, who's been teaching, I think, her whole life. She
Mm-hmm.
went to APA, and she's a terrific step-by-step. Oh, here's an illusion teacher, and she'll give the example of, first when you first start, she says like cooking, you make like vanilla pudding, and
Uh,
then you learn more, and then you can make like a vanilla cream pie,
uh,
and then you get to creme caramel.
okay.
So Leora turns to me and says, Roberto starts at creme caramel and works up. So we got a chuckle. But she's teaching in person, which is sort of, she can walk around and look at, like she always says, Carol, you're too cheap with the paint.
Yeah, that's how I used to do before the COVID, and I hope to go back to do that. But also think that I'm not gonna let go of Zoom. It's too convenient for everybody, and it's so helpful having the recordings, right? What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to work with both, uh,
Right.
some hybrid classes too, when it will be possible to go back in person. I was looking at a place to rent here. There is it's called Liberty Village here in Flemington, and it's a place where they had outlets,
Oh yeah, we're familiar with that.
Yeah, and they're basically closed down. There's only one or two places, and nobody's going anymore. And the crisis was not even the COVID, because they started closing down before the COVID. It could be that's more because of the competition with online stuff, and
Right.
right, and people don't go. But it's too bad, because they had quite a few good outlets. They had Ralph Lauren, they had what's some called Timberland. They had all this stuff. It was very very cheap prices, and now there's only two, like Brooks Brothers and what's the other one? Brooks Brothers and American Apparel, right? So they have all these empty buildings now, all at these stores, and I was thinking, I wonder if I could rent one of those to have a space where to teach. But I don't know how many people would come to Flemington, so
Right.
it's not like a, you know. You gotta be closer to metropolitan center to have a number of students that can come. Even Lambertville is nice, but Lambertville is one of the locations, beautiful, but for people to come continuously, it would be kind of a strain. It would be difficult, right? So what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to get this part here darker, but see, I don't really have a darker value, so I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna leave it like that, right? So we can achieve a very good tonal rendering, right? Tonal scale here, nonetheless, right? So I'm trying not to block in those little lines, right? That just barely, very, very carefully blocked in. And for example, this area here of the thigh, see, that has an area of value that we could block in flat, right? But very carefully. Right? That would be the side plane of the thigh here, right?
Okay. I'm ahead of you there.
And then smooth it here, right?
Right.
And then block in the, actually here, and it also, see this how this line kind of really create that turning of the leg right here. Beautiful, right? Here. So here, like this. These are framing lines, right? These are framing, or what I call structural lines, because they follow the structure of the form.
One too many lines here.
Very, very thin lines turning the form. And of course here now we have these lines a little bit more visible here, going along the side of the leg over this flat tonal rendering that we had created, right? Very windy today. Is it windy there too, Carol?
No, not today. It was yesterday. It was crazy yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday was crazy.
They let a lot of kids out of school early yesterday, and then there was no storm.
Oh, really? Why did they let them out of school? They put them in.
Because it was predicted to be a really, really bad storm.
Oh, yeah, they let them out of school? I mean, they let them go before the storm, I hope, suppose.
Like an hour before school got out.
Oh, okay.
You know, people saying, why is my child out of school again? That would be frustrating.
So soft, this passage is here from one volume to the next, so soft right here. This is the rectus femoris, right? This is the rectus femoris. So this area here is very soft shading here. Oh, too much.
I love this little eraser pen.
Yeah, this is small. It is this is mono zero.
Oh, that's a tiny one.
A tiny one, see that? This is very tiny. It's good, but sometimes this, when you raise, it spins. But there are some that are intermediate, and there's some that are larger. So, yeah, they're really worth it. They're really worth it. You can draw in negative as you erase, basically.
Right.
You see how he blocked the fingers, almost like rectangular shape.
Right.
Yeah, very. Because those are the blocking in that he did. So meaning that is the basic structure that you see in areas that are not finished. And then the areas that are finished gradually are modeled, chiseled, right?
Right.
All right, so we're blocking in those volumes, right? So these are much softer volumes, and gotta be careful. Don't I gotta be careful not to make them too sharp because they are very subtle in the original one.
Right. These are very, very light.
Sharpen the pencil. See, oh, this side here then is darker, so I can put more value here. Because if I look at just the squinty, just how dark this is against the background, I need to push mine a little bit darker. Of course, so my background is lighter, so the contrast is more, right? But still, that is a really strong contrast that I want to replicate. So I think Bacio Bandinelli, like all the artists of the period, they were studying anatomy directly, right? Dissection, performing a dissection directly, or by attending anatomical dissection, right? It was also part of the training of the artist. Is in my second book, I found this. I put this reproduction of the print that shows how the academic training was organized in Italy, mid 1500, and you see that there is one of the teachers is dissecting in the classrooms as young students look over, right, and copy the skeleton, copy the dissected figure. So they were dissecting in the classroom, which is today is you don't even think about it, right? Cannot do that, right?
Right.
There are also, I think there's a book, it's called Stiff, right? That talks about, among other things, about these body snatchers, right? Where they
Oh, wow.
medicine student or people that were paid by medicine student in the 1700, specifically in England, but it was probably true also in other parts of the world, right? They were digging up people recently buried and then using them, of course, illegally.
Yeah.
And then they were just taking them for the dissection classes. In the Bologna records of the tribunals of Bologna, there is this famous episode where a group of medicine students, they were clearly coming from rich families. They were all arrested because they dug up a body and then they took it to class. And the parents, the relatives of the person, the deceased person, sued them, and then they had to go in front of the judge. That was a very serious offense, but who knows? I don't know what happened to them, right? They were probably from a very powerful family, but the people were coming from all over Europe to go to Bologna, study medicine. So they were coming probably from wealthy family, and somehow I don't know, I speculate because they don't say what happened to the student, but being rich, probably they got away with that, right? Or with a fine, or with some sort of probably fine, right? But originally the medicine student had to provide the body for the lesson. So I asked you guys to bring paper, right?
Yeah.
But
No body.
no body, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm gonna miss Saturday's class.
Oh, that's okay. We have it again, right? We were gonna have it again when we probably when we come back home from Italy. Gonna have it again because I don't know if I want to have another class in person before we go to Italy because I want to give myself some time between in case I get sick again to heal, and I want to limit the contact, right? So because a lot of people now are getting sick, a lot.
A lot.
And I think it's because we took off the masks. We, people see without masks, etc. And another phenomenon I think is that, which I was hearing on the news, is that a lot of people do a home test. They don't report it if they're positive. So the hospital never knows, and you're not issued any, quarantine order, and people keep going out even they are sick because the symptoms are milder. So people don't stay in quarantine, right?
My son got it a second time.
Oh, really? Yeah.
He has gotten it, and he's shot and boosted, and he had it before we got vaccine. He had it pretty badly this time around.
Oh, really?
I mean, he didn't go to hospital, but he was in bed for a week
Yeah.
with a bad cold. Flu, like. Of course, he and his friends took a 40-mile hike through Manhattan. Maybe not the smartest thing to do in COVID. Where are we?
Yeah, you got together with a bunch of people that might have it, right?
So they like to backpack, but they chose to go to Manhattan.
So blocking this now darker, the lower part in here, right here. And the outline of the arm, we can really go after all the little bumps that we see there, right here, here. Okay.
Okay.
I think we did a good job, right? Came out nice, right?
Yeah.
Can I see your work?
Sure.
Oh wow, Carol, that's pretty good. So careful with the tonal transition now, right? Careful with the tonal transition because there are areas, as you were saying before, like here, for example, this part in here is you have it very sharp in there. I would soften the margin.
Okay.
Soften the margin in there. Whenever you see, if you squint, right, and you see that are patterns that are very sharp in your drawing and they're not sharp in the original,
Right.
it's because probably your tonal transition needs to be rendered more gradual, right? Smooth, right?
Right.
So, all right,
Good.
good,
And
good.
I still have that line under the pectorals. I don't know how that keeps getting back there.
Can I see it again? Just a second.
Yeah, I just started erasing a little bit of it.
Yeah. Okay, because see, there are. It's just a transition. So, for example, here, right?
Right.
Here are all the area where you have sharp areas. Smooth them. Add a value. So, for example, you have this is your area of value here, right?
Right.
Actually, this is the general area of value, right? Like that. And then you have an area of value like that is too sharp.
Right.
Go next to it and then create an intermediate passage here between this value and this value here, and take off that sharp edge by smoothing that.
Right.
Makes sense. So that the form goes from this to this to this, because this is more gradual. See that?
Right.
But before, when you do this, right, and you block in a dark area here like this, this is so sudden that it goes this, right? Instead, it has to be more gradual, more gradual passage. It makes any sense, right?
Yep.
Okay, all right, good. So I'll see you next week then.
Good. Yeah, this is exciting. Well, wow, I got a one-on-one class with you. I can't believe it. Very nice. I had a great time.
Thank you,
you.
me too. Bye.
Enjoy the fishing.
Yeah, I'm gonna go fishing tonight. I'm gonna go buy the license online, and then I'm gonna take in fishing tonight. Now I had to finish a few things with the courses that I'm planning, and then call for the insurance, etc. But then I'm gonna take in fishing this evening, so we can get out and enjoy this beautiful day. It's so gorgeous, right?
Day, yeah.
Yeah,
And you think the fish are awake now?
You know what? My concern is that the river will be too high because yesterday it rained a lot, and the Raritan gets quite high, and then it's unfishable. But we'll see. We're gonna check it out.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks. See
Bye-bye.
you. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye bye.